Hey there, welcome back to Spartan Entertainment and Electronics. I'm your host Ryan, and we're back today with another review. This one, we're having a look at a video game adaptation movie, the Tomb Raider Blu-ray from Warner Bros. Pictures, starring Alicia Vikander from Ex Machina and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Dominic West from 300 and Finding Dory, Daniel Wu from Geostorm and Warcraft, and featuring Walton Goggins from Sons of Anarchy and Ant-Man and the Wasp as the villain. Tomb Raider is a very long-standing series that has had many video game entries and several films based on the franchise, most notably starring Angelina Jolie. This being the newest of those films and focused around Crystal Dynamics' first entry of the renewed vision of the game franchise. The new games and this film look at the start of Lara Croft before the character became the icon a lot of us grew up with.
Lara, your father's gone. You can pick up where he left off. I see so much of him in you.
Quick housekeeping before we jump into the review. If you're new to my content, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. I post new content once a week and don't want you to miss anything. It'll also help my channel grow so I can continue making new content like this.
Our world is in danger. Promise me you will stop them.
I promise.
With that out of the way, on to the review. I have not played the new series of games, so I'm not able to compare the game to the movie. The vibe is set early that the movie is based on a video game, and they intended to honor this. There were times while watching I was looking for a controller to pick up, as I expected the cutscene to end and the gameplay to start.
Is now in your hands.
I think this is a fantastic feature for an adaptation, and I really enjoyed going through that experience. There were also a couple of sequences throughout that I was waiting for the QuickTime button mashing prompt to pop up. It just seems so dialed into that video game vibe, and acknowledging where it came from, that those sequences seem to come straight out of the game. The soundtrack continues this feeling and tied in with the overall theme nicely. However, at times, it just seemingly disappeared into the background, which neither helped nor hindered the flow of the movie. Alicia Vikander was an excellent choice for playing Lara Croft, and I think she did a fantastic job. Although, I do have to complain that I found her accent to be not British at points. Definitely European, but not British. Daniel Wu does a fantastic job in his supporting role as Lu Ren, helping Lara Croft along her journey. There were a couple of times that Lu Ren seemed desperate for or dependent on Lara, and I think the script could have been handled a little differently to make both Lara Croft and Lu Ren a little stronger and more independent.
Put it down!
Lara is presented as being self-sufficient until her father becomes involved, and then she loses that strength for a short while before finding it again. Speaking of her father, Dominic West does a fine job of playing Lord Richard Croft and was very well cast. I like how they portrayed the character while reintroducing him on the island and showing the effects of the passage of time and what that has done to his mind. The Walton Goggins villain of Matthias Vogel was well portrayed. It wasn't as strong a character profile as I would have expected, and that is based on my expectations from the previous film and game entries. Although he was portrayed as being a strong and powerful character, he just fell a little flat in the realm of what I was expecting. The character wasn't as upsetting or interfering into the Lara Croft flow as I expected. He seemed more like a speed bump than an adversary on the way to her goal.
You shouldn't have come here. But I'm glad that you did.
I'm not sure if this is actor selection or script writing, but for what it is, Walton Goggins did a fantastic job. I was confused at one point in the beginning of the film. Lara was struggling to fight in a controlled environment, then all of a sudden, 3/4 of the way through the movie, she just turns into this martial art boxing master. It seemed like a bit of a jump, and I would have liked to see Lara struggle with the combat throughout the whole movie, as this is an origin story. And then, if a sequel ever happens, have her skills refined and improved. Just as a side note, I did a bit of research. There is rumored to be a sequel coming. It's supposed to start filming and has just been delayed by the world pandemic. On the flip side, I loved how Lara's look changed throughout the film from a young explorer to a more traditional and recognizable Lara Croft look.
Can't be too careful these days. The world has gone bloody mad.
I'll take two.
At the end of the day, the cast selection was fantastic, and the script was good for a video game adaptation, however not spectacular. On a side note, I would like to see a new movie with each iteration of this new Lara Croft adventure. 2 games have come out since this, and neither has come with a new movie. I mean, I am way behind on intake and content, so it's not like this is the end of the world for me, but for the quality of this film, I would like to see more. For the look of the movie, I really like the set pieces and how they have built the environment. There were a few instances where the color correction was lacking vibrance and fell a little flat, but in other scenes, especially in the tomb, it seemed livelier. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I would have liked a more consistent flow of the look, especially around Croft Manor. I would have liked to see the trees to be greener and more alive. When going into the special features and seeing how they did some of the scenes, I found it to be quite impressive with the work that went into building these environments and set pieces. Speaking of the special features, as this is the Blu-ray review, it was very hit and miss for me. Tomb Raider Undercover, the first feature, was a behind-the-scenes trailer essentially, and I was glad when it ended. With Croft training, I enjoyed seeing how Alicia Vikander committed to the role and the work she put into becoming Lara Croft.
You messed with the wrong family.
The one thing I was left curious about was whether this physical investment was a contractual obligation or voluntary commitment. Let me know in the comments what you think. Either way, Alicia Vikander got jacked for this role. Breaking down the rapids was a really cool featurette, and I appreciate how they showed adding in CG layer by layer. It was a time lapse, but still interesting to see. I also enjoyed watching the various components of that scene broken down and revealed. I like shows such as How It's Made, so seeing how the scene was built and the various components involved was really enjoyable for me. It was easily my favorite special feature. The last feature on the disc they had was called Lara Croft, Evolution of an Icon. It was a cool look at the chronology of Lara Croft and interesting to hear some of the interviews. My take on this Blu-ray experience and first viewing of the Tomb Raider movie was enjoyable. It seems like it was intended as a marketing bit for the game, which is fine because it was well handled and effective. I say it was effective because I want to play the games now. Fortunately, I have bought all 3 games on Xbox and can go play them at my leisure. I've always intended to play them, but after watching the movie, I think at least the first game will be bumped up my priority list. I am disappointed I did not take the time to watch this movie sooner, and I'm glad I finally did get around to watching it. I give Tomb Raider a 7 out of 10. If you like this review, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel so I can keep bringing you reviews and other content. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this movie. What is your favorite video game adaptation to film? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.